chosen men, on campaign! Let's take a look at the strategic situation before we play out a little battle with chosen men. We are up here in the northwest corner of the map, where a French troop of lancers and hussars surprised a unit of Spanish guerrillas here in this little village, whose name escapes me at the moment. I have another map. I don't want to give you short shrift. That's Beccaville. In hot pursuit, the guerrillas realized they weren't going to make it down to the safety of the British lines, so they've holed up in this little woods right here. This is called Whitmarsh Wood. Whitmarsh might be a funny name for it. What can I tell you? I always name my stuff after whoever the most recent commenter is on one of my videos, and at the time of filming this, that would be Tobias Whitmarsh. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you'll stick around. So what we have here is graph paper, and each square is 1 foot of table space across. Our French cavalry are coming down this road when they encounter these guerrillas, and guessing that the French, who have to commandeer supplies from these villages, don't want to leave an enemy force in their back trail, they have turned off the woods, and they are ready to roust these guys out of there. So let's take a look at the tabletop. Voila. So here you see our map. Right here, here's Whitmarsh Wood, and I drew a little square around it. So the guerrillas are G, the French are F. You can see we got a road coming through, and we've got a woods over there. Looking at the strategic situation, if the guerrillas flee off this side of the map, they'll probably make for Iojimbo Farm, although as soon as they get across, they're going to realize that they're caught between a hammer and between a rock and a hard place. The French will have to decide whether to pursue via map-based movement and slow down even more, because remember, the British are somewhere over here. Be that as it may, all we have is this terrain, simple road, simple woods. Now, to be honest with you, before we zoom in and look at these forces, I should admit, this is very strange for a tabletop battle. If I told you, hey, come on over, we're going to do a miniature war game, and when you showed up, I said, it's mostly an empty battlefield. You have to take these 15 guerrillas and hold that wood while I smash you with 12 cavalry. You would look at me like I was crazy. You would wonder where I come up with these ideas. You would wonder, what am I smoking and where could you get some? Yeah, this might not be a fair fight one way or the other. You're using cavalry to clear woods? That doesn't make sense. It's a little copse of trees. I think this is going to work okay. Either way, this is a situation where the French are, I don't want to say they're in dire straits, but they find themselves in a situation that's not ideal, and this is how military operations work. You know what? We don't have the right guys for assaulting a wood, but what we do have is guys. So, guys, go do it. Do the best you can with what you got, right? The guerrillas, same thing. They don't want to have to fight a bunch of cavalry. That's not what they're here for. Although, that said, looking at the strategic situation, remember that it's about 8 o'clock in the morning. We are into turn 2. We've basically just wrapped up turn 2 as this game proceeds. So what's going to happen is, for every turn that this game lasts, these guys are not moving across the map. Every hour that these guys hold out is one less move for the cavalry. So instead of being all the way up to Hopeton and halfway to Tantrum on the Green, they're still back here at the woods. So this may be a situation where even a loss, even this tactical loss, is a strategic victory for the part of the British and their Spanish guerrilla allies. With all that out of the way, let's zoom in and take a look at the forces that we have and what kind of capabilities these forces have. These guys are all French. I know some of the colors are confusing, as is some of the equipment. Let's go over it real quick. I'm really proud of how well this worked out, because I only have 8 mounted French figures. I built 2 detachments that each had 6 or 7 mounted French figures, and the player, General Elan, immediately stuck them into one force and said, yo, deal with it. Well, I dealt with it, and check it out, our first battle of the campaign, I'm just going to have to use these British guys as French guys. Over here on the left, we've got our hussars. Our hussars and our lancers have the same profile, with the exception that the hussars fight with a melee skill of 4. These guys fight with a melee skill of 3. Otherwise, they're basically the same. The other difference is that the hussars have a bugler. That's this fella right here. You can see the bugle in his hand. And then this guy with his sword up high is the leader. The guys with their swords out wide are the actual hussars. This is our overall commander, Lieutenant Colonel Locataire. He's an officer. He's a mounted officer. Whichever one of these units I stick him with will get to move an extra 2 inches each turn. The Lancers have dressed in French red today, and they're actually a little more confusing because we've got our officer with the bicorn, we've got our standard bearer with the red standard, and then Essex, you get 3, I think it's actually this guy, and a bugler. Well, when Essex sent me the pack of 3, they sent me 2 standard bearers. All right, I should probably paint a bugle on this banner. Oh, that'd be good. So the banner with the white square, he's our bugler. It doesn't really matter. It just would look a little nicer. And fundamentally, what's going to happen here is, do I have? Yeah, this is. I don't need this guy. Here we go. So the guy with the bicorn is our leader, and I've got 4 lancers, a standard bearer, and a bugler. These guys just have a bugler. That's the real big difference there. Okay. Being played by the Vendéan farmer figures. The fella here in the purple hat, he's their leader. He's their commander, and he is armed with a musket, a bayonet, and a pistol. As are these 4 guys here in the front rank, musket, bayonet, pistol. The other guys are not armed with distant weapons at all. That could be a problem. We have got a mix of guys. The second rank here, well, there's 5 guys with axes, and in melee, the axes do 1 extra damage after they hit. The guys with the sharp pointy sticks have pikes, and pikes have a +1 to hit cavalry. So they're not the best guerrillas. The chosen men guerrillas all have musket, pistol, and saber. These are just like peasants who are openly resisting the French commandeering their supplies. So a little bit of a mix up here. They've got too many, based on the chosen men rules, they've got too many guys with axes. You're only supposed to have 1 per every 5 guys. I've got 5 for 15. But the fact that they don't have a whole lot of long range is really going to hurt them. And fundamentally, just remember, their goal here is to slow down the French forces as long as possible, do as much damage as possible while they can, because it's going to hurt the French in the long run. When they do actually go up against the British forces, the regular army, they are going to be depleted. Bit of a war of attrition here. I know this battle doesn't have a whole lot of opportunity for tactical flair. This is more of a strategic game. We're just looking at a tiny little piece of a much larger battle. So keep that in mind as we go through. We have a few more things we should cover before we start the battle. The guerrillas hate the French. That's a special rule that says they get to reroll all damage rolls of 1. They also have to charge any enemy that is within 12 inches of them. If the French get close, they're going to come out of the woods. That's unfortunate. We're not doing any Cauldron of War strategies. In the regular game of Chosen Men, you assume that there's cavalry and artillery and other stuff going on. There's nothing going on outside of our battlefield. The last order of business is this leader. Where are we going to put him? Lieutenant Colonel Locataire grants a 2-inch bonus move to whichever unit he's with, and I think you got to put him with your melee specialist. He's going to be racing in as fast as they can, so that means putting him there. With all that out of the way, we are ready to roll for initiative. Hey, it's a tie. Look at that. Okay, so we'll re-roll. You know, blue die goes for blue uniforms. And as always, the blue die goes for the blue uniforms. Nice tie. That should probably mean something. All right, red gets to go first, and they're going to say, I want the French to take the first action. On the next turn, they'll get the first action. The French have to decide which unit is going to go first, and it's going to be these guys who are going to move at the double, so they move 10 inches plus another 1. The Lancers are feeling somewhat reticent. So we move the leader up first. Everybody kind of comes up around them. Oh, the guerrillas also can't form line or column. That's, they're guerrillas. They're not well-drilled regular infantry. Now they're going to go ahead and dig in, and then they're going to open fire on these guys. Their leader has a stig of 1 and a tactical of 3, so he's not going to be able to fire if he does that. Digging in means they now have a cover save. Oh, shoot. Is this guy within 12 inches? He's just outside of 12 inches. So they get 1 turn. They're going to be able to fire with their 5 muskets. Their strategy has to change. Remember, they've only got 3 action points. It costs 2 to dig in. Well, if they're going to be running out next turn anyway, because you know these guys are going to be close enough to get charged, they're really only going to get 1, maybe 2 shots out of this. If they take the time to aim, then these 5 guys with the muskets, to beyond 12 inches, just barely, they can aim, and they're going to be hitting on 4s. If they don't aim, no, because it's beyond 9 inches, they're going to be hitting on 5s. Musketoons, the muskets that they're using have a range of 18 inches. Beyond 9 inches, it's at -1, so they would be hitting on 6s. If they take 2 points to do that, they take 2 actions, so they aim and fire, then are they sharpshooters? They're not. So they're going to be hitting on 5s with these 5 shots. They get a grand total of 2 hits. And one of those is going to be a wounding hit. There's nothing beyond that. So they got to roll a 3 or better. Now remember, they hate the French, so if one of those was a 1, they could have re-rolled that. But it's not. So we're going to put a little chip under this guy, and we're going to spread our casualties out on both sides of the board to keep as many guys alive as long as possible. Over here, when we take casualties, we'll take 1 musket, 1 pike, and then 1 axe. So the thing that's left to do is to move these guys. They're going to move 12 inches. Oh, we should have moved them first, huh? If we had moved them first, it would have forced them to charge into combat, which would have allowed these guys to charge too. Hey, live and learn. So these guys are now going to move 12 inches. They're moving it to double, so they're going to move a total of 17 inches. We measure the leader goes to 12, and then an additional 5. He's going to stop right there, and our hussars are going to be just this close. That's the end of the turn. Moving into turn number 2, the guerrillas have the initiative. Now they're within 9 inches. Now if they take 2 action points, they are going to be able to... Oh, no, you know what? Take it back. So the first thing that happens is the leader says, "Hold steady, boys." These guys get to re-roll their command checks until the end of the turn. The second thing that happens is he says, "Charge these guys." They have to do it because they hate the French. Now there is a rule here that's a little bit odd. The infantry charging cavalry, if infantry charging, they first must pass a command check, and these guys don't have a really high command. The Sargento has a command of 6. So the first thing we got to do, if the pass is checked, the check is passed, they go. If the test is failed, the charge may not be declared, but no attack points are expended. They can perform different actions. Oh, so this may actually work out for them. Nope! This is great. So these guys have now charged the hussars. Man, I tell you, give them credit for bravery. And, the question is, how far do they charge? We roll a d6. So they charge 12 inches. That's more than enough room. They're going to get the charge bonus on the combat. So they rush up, and we're just going to bring them all up. We're not going to worry about piling or anything like that. Since these guys are now stuck in melee, they'll say, well, I'll declare those guys to go. And then, of course, these lancers are going to go ahead and charge into combat here as well. So the problem that the guerrillas have at this point is that the guys on horseback get to attack first. We are into turn 2, so if this is the end of the game after this round of melee, we're going to force the cavalry to spend 1 game turn addressing the wounded, chasing down the survivors, you know, I think what we're going to do is it's going to be 2 turns that they're out of action. So assuming this ends here, on the campaign map, they won't be available to continue their movement until turn 5. Just be aware of that. But that is coming up. First, we have to deal with this melee. The yellow tokens indicate that these guys have charged. They get a bonus to resolve who won the melee, if it comes to that. The second thing we have to work out is that these cavalry have devastating charge. So these guys charge, they're going to get to make an additional D6 attacks. I should point out, all of our cavalry are going to be hitting on 3s. The fact that they've got 4 doesn't make a difference in this case because they're fighting guys with a melee skill of 2. All of our 2 hit dice are going to be hitting on 3s. But each of these cavalrymen has 2 attacks. They get 1 pistol and 1 saber shot. The pistol shot is a bonus shot, no bonuses. The saber has a +1 to hit. Because these guys get a bonus D6 attacks, I'm going to do 50-50. They're going to get a total of 5 extra attacks. They're going to get 3 pistol and 2 saber, we'll call it, okay? So that makes it easy. So because there are a total of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, plus the 3 is going to be 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 dice. That's a lot of dice. These are going to be hitting on 3 up, and then any hits, because it's the pistol, will wound on a 3 up. So we're going to get rid of anything that's not a 3. They get a total of 5, 10, 12 hits. And then anything that's a 3 or better on these 12 dice. Anything that's a 3 up is going to remove a casualty. They get a total of 2, 4, 6, 8 casualties on the first attack. Then we've got to roll, so remember that, 8. Then we've got to roll for the sabers. And the sabers are going to be, there's our 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, plus the 2 bonus for the devastating charge. These guys are going to be hitting on 2 up. The sabers have a +1 to hit. So normally hitting on 3s, this time hitting on 2s. We'll pull out these 1s, and they get a total of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 hits. About what you'd expect, and they're going to be whacking a guy on 3 ups. We'll pull these out, and then they get 2, 4, 6, 8. So that is enough to completely wipe them out. So the guerrillas are no more. At the end of turn 2, all 15 of these guys have been devastated. Thanks for watching. I'm praying for you. Not really, because we're not done yet, are we? All we did was the tabletop. We got to break out the map and take a look at what this means. Before we get to the map, though, let's go ahead and make a note. 1 Lancer has 1 wound. That's going to carry over into their next battle. We'll have to remember to drop a little red chip under one of these guys. They've got 2 wounds, so this unit here, instead of having the total of 14 wounds, they're only going to be able to take 13 before they're removed as a force. Then we need to look at the map, and this is the state of the campaign at the end of turn number 3. Kind of, at the end of turn number 3, campaign turn number 3, the Spanish guerrillas had been soundly thrashed by the French detachment Bleu. Now we're going to look at the movement for turn number 4. Detachment Red, or Rouge, I should say, is up here. They can move 2 squares per turn. They're going to end turn 4 here. Detachment Blanc is only moving 1 square at a time. They're going to end right here at the end of turn 4. These guys, like I said, Bleu, are rest and recovering. The British now, and I guess we'll put these right here. The colors are a little easier for you guys to see, just to kind of show you relative positions. Detachment Unicorn is moving 3 squares per turn. 1, 2, 3. It's going to put them right about here. They're moving diagonal, so that's a pretty good distance. We'll put it right there. So we'll draw little arrows. Detachment Lion now, at the end of turn 4, 1, 2, 3. They are in the middle of Hopeton. That's what this is right here. and they have a decision to make. Before we get to that, Detachment Wheel is going to move up, and they are going to be on Scar Bridge at the end of turn number 4. Now we're looking into turn 5. Bear in mind, Detachment Lion has heard the gunfire up here in the northwest. They have a choice to make which way are they going to go. They also, well, they're in the town right now, so they can't see Detachment Rouge just yet. But they also suffer a moment of confusion here. The signposts are all wrong, and absent any other consideration, they might get confused. Now remember, they have orders to march up here to Beckaville. Wait a minute, the signs say Beckaville is that way. That's really confusing. What's going on? Fog of war is what's going on. You'll understand in the fullness of time. For right now, what you need to be aware of is that whatever cruel French ploy that is has failed, because Colonel Carter, you will recall from previous videos, see, Detachment Lion, he has lay of the land. He's a local fella, which means he knows maybe he honeymooned here in this 5 villages area, who knows? He says, look, I know Beckaville is that way. My orders are to go that way. I'm hearing gunfire that way. I am going that way. So on turn number 5, he's actually marching to the sound of the guns, and these cavalrymen, they have orders to converge on Hopeton as well, which means our next battle is going to be fought right about here. Something like this is what our table is going to look like. We're going to pick a commenter, and we're going to name this marsh after them, and it's probably going to be the, like, Whitwood Marsh, because this is Whitmarsh Wood. Here's our battle. Let me draw some cross swords. It's going to look something like that, and it's going to start, well, they're not quite there, so it's going to be the second half of turn 5. Okay? Is that right? So they ended there. Turn 4 was there. Turn 5 is moving into the battle. So turn 5, there's going to be a battle there. I want to look a little bit ahead, because Detachment Wheel down here is on the bridge. So they are 1, 2, 3 map moves away. If they decide to reinforce, they could arrive on turn number 6. The trick is that when they get to Hopeton, Detachment Rouge appears, oh, are they, they're kind of between the woods and the hill. Rouge is going to wind up right there. Blanc on turn 6 will be here, and Unicorn will arrive in this village. They can't see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They can't see Blanc, so they're going to continue with their orders. And they're going to go 1, 2, 3. Unicorn at the end of turn 6. So that's all we're going to do for right now. End of turn 6. Unicorn is going to be here. Blanc, Rouge, and that leaves the question of where is Wheel going to be? 3, 4, 1, 2. Let's see. So that was where they started. So turn 4, 5, and 6, they only move in 2, so they're going to be right here at the end of turn 6. They're going to see Detachment Rouge, and the question is, do they go to reinforce this battle, or do they go to Detachment Rouge? That's a good question. I don't know. I think what we have to do is play this battle, and most of our battles are going less than 6 turns. So we're going to pause everybody here. We're going to play this battle, see how long it takes, because the other issue is, if Detachment Wheel and Detachment Rouge, remember, we know that Detachment Rouge is going to halt right here on turn 7, right? So that's R6. They're going to commandeer the bridge on turn 7, and Detachment Wheel is going to be here on turn 7. So if they decide to turn this way, it's going to take a full hour for them to get there. That battle will occur on turn 8. And yeah, that's going to be a difficulty for them. But I don't think we can address that just yet. We got to fight this battle. That's what we're going to do. That's going to be the next video, is to fight this battle. The battle starts on turn 5. And like I said, Detachment Lion can't show up until at least the 6th turn. I don't think they're going to show up at all. I think they're going to be confused. They're seeing the enemy. The enemy is not engaged. They know Unicorn is over here. So yeah, Wheel is not going to appear. And that's really why I wanted to walk through this far, because we now know that Wheel is going to be forced to address the problem of Orange Chicken Bridge. We'll fight this battle. We'll do another video talking about the aftermath when we see what happens, and we'll figure out. There may be somebody here, depending on how this works. This battle for Orange Chicken Bridge, there may be reinforcements coming from this side. These two guys are too far away, but whoever wins this battle may not be. A lot of moving parts. You got to slow down. There's a lot of adjudication that goes on. As players, you have to trust your GM to be fair and impartial, and to deal with these complexities with as pure a heart as a guy like me. I'm praying for you.